Hello everybody, Sean Milburn here with Milburn Motorsports. Once again today, I'm out here in the garage with the 370Z. We got some goodies to put on it. So around Christmas time, figured I wanted to get some gauges for the car. I got a oil pressure gauge as well as an air to fuel ratio sensor. So that way we'll be able to track the air to fuel. We'll also be able to see the oil pressure. The reason this car blew up last time was due to oil pressure. So to make sure that doesn't happen again, we at least have a chance. Gonna go ahead and put an AEM oil pressure sensor on it. We're currently just figuring out how to configure that. I'm gonna show you guys what we came up with here. All right, so today's going the way it's not supposed to go, with everything not fitting. We're trying to get this bung put in for the oil pressure sensor. If we take a look at this, when we went to put these on, those threads don't actually fit the AN fittings for the lines. So we're kind of out of luck for that. So instead, we got the one that came with the Z1 kit. Let me find it real fast. All right, so you can see what we did here. Yeah, we put that hole in it right there.
And it goes through to this manifold.
Yep.
So now we can put an oil pressure gauge in it.
Yeah.
Sending unit.
Yep, and we had to go back out because when we tried to thread this in, you turn it to the side a bit. Turn it towards the camera. Yeah. You can see it doesn't clear that.
It strikes.
Yeah, it strikes the side. So now we had to get an adapter fitting for that fitting. And so now that's where we're at. So we're gonna, screw this one into that one.
And
then that one into there. And
which is way too long. Oh my word.
That's pretty freaking long.
That's not gonna work either. God damn it.
Yep. So while he's dealing with that and getting that thing fitted in there, he's probably gonna have to go out and try and get another fitting. You see him messing around back there. While he's doing that, I tried to do the rotors. Rotors don't fit. So now I guess it's time to go on to the test pipes and get one of those off. I'm gonna do the driver's side because we need to weld a bung onto that for the air to fuel ratio sensor. And then once that goes on there, we'll hopefully get it welded this week, and that should go on pretty simply. I mean, once that bung's on there, it should be pretty straightforward as long as all the wires are the right side. When we were trying to get the oil sensor all hooked up, it's gonna be over here by the A-pillar. So, and then we're gonna run this wire all the way down here, and then it's gotta go through here somewhere. We'll figure it out, and then get it under the car. It'll hook up down over on this side. So the problem is now, AEM did not supply a line that is big enough. It's like maybe 4 feet long. So I went online and I ordered an extension kit through Priority Mail. So it'll keep this same exact fitting. We'll just plug this into another cable, and then that cable will run down into there, and then we should be squared. So a lot of Murphy's Law going on today. It's pretty unfortunate, but that's just the part of working on cars.
So what we had to do is take off these lines, take off the sandwich plate, and to put this sending unit in, we had to drill a hole in it and tap it because we were having trouble finding a spot. So we should be able to get oil pressure from here that'll run our oil pressure gauge. While we were here, we found a water leak on this tube behind all this junk in here. Thank God we found it while we were here. And I cut the hose and repaired it, and there's a protective sheath on there, so we shouldn't have any more issues. So I got the hoses in line, I got the water hoses, and now we got the sandwich plate tightened up, and I'm just putting the filter back on. We should be ready to go.
Yeah, you can see where that one in there. We just tapped a hole straight into it, as you saw earlier. And yeah, we put Teflon tape around it so it shouldn't leak, and I'm pretty confident it won't leak, but you won't know until we start it. So.
Yeah, there's always that chance, but I tried to do the best I could to make sure it was nice and snug, plenty of Teflon tape. This looks very crowded here, right? Everyone's, it's touching. But when you weight the car, this actually comes down to about here and gives those hoses plenty of room. It's just a little tight when the car's unloaded on jack stands. This sway bar swings up, so we got plenty of room. Our hoses aren't fouling, like rubbing on the belt anywhere. They're not pinching, so I think we're all good.
Yep. So you can see right there, I marked it. Yeah, so if we barely
lost any oil, but we're gonna have to check all that.
This is gonna be something like that sitting in there, and that should be clearing out of the way. And it's also at a degree where it won't actually get any condensation on it, which is ideal. You can see this plug at the bottom. If we just had this pipe in here like that, having the wideband sensor right there is not ideal, so we're just gonna put a new hole in it. All right, so this is looking absolutely awesome already. I'm super thrilled to do this. So I got this piece from a guy, like a friend of a friend almost. He recommended me this dude on Facebook, ES Customs, and I was looking all over the place for somewhere I could get like a gauge pod mount for the A-pillar. And this is actually my OEM A-pillar that I sent to him, and he added these mounts onto it. You can see they're super clean. Like, he did a really good job. I would definitely recommend him. I'll leave a link to his website down in the description, so any of you 370Z guys, you can get some gauge pod mounts for your car. I have AEM gauges I'm putting on here. This is an oil pressure sensor. You guys know what happened to the previous motor, so we're definitely going to try and prevent that this time around. And then here I'm going to be putting an air to fuel ratio gauge. So we got those going in. You got to be a little careful when putting these in. You can see there's really no lip to grab on that inside of this one, and that kind of makes it hard. But it's actually not too bad. I figured out something that works. You can just use the standard mount, as you see I have in there. That's just the standard mount. I'll show you guys how to fit that in one sec, just in case you do intend on getting this kit. And then you can see how that goes in. All right, here's the wideband gauge with the parts associated with it. So we have the bracket here. This goes on the back, so when you flip this over, you'll lay this on here. You can see how that seats along the edges, keeps it secured. So what we're gonna do is we're actually just gonna start these threads. Just get them a little bit tightened on here. Just a little bit to give this thing enough play, because we can actually slide this in the face of it, kind of wiggle it around, and once it gets seated in there, you tighten those in from the back, which I'll show you right now. All right, so you're gonna wanna be about at this point. So I just fed these wires through, got them plugged in, because I don't wanna have to hassle with doing that once it's actually in the cluster. So once you get it in there, this little clip, you're gonna wanna kinda just hook that under and get that fitted in there. You can see how that went in first try. So that was beautiful. So, so once that goes in, you get this seated. Let me turn this around. Get that seated. There, it should just slide right in. Okay, there we go. So that's in there. So you just gotta make sure it's straight, which it seems okay. So I'm just gonna start right here. And then you go to the back, under this side. I'm gonna reach my fingers into this hole, and I'm just gonna start spinning the pieces that were attaching that bracket, and that should just kind of seat it in. Hold on, I might have to do this off camera, one sec. So this is what it will look like when it's done. Both of the pods are in. We got those all mounted up in there. It's gonna take you a little bit of messing with it, because you shouldn't have to force anything. They should just go in. It might take a little push to help them get in there, but you don't want to be too forceful. If you do, you could potentially crack this outer piece right here along those housings, right there and there, because it does provide a little bit of tension with that clip that holds these in. So once you get them set right and they're in, you just reach your fingers into this back part. You screw on those metal bolts you see there. Not too tight, you could also crack it. So you just want them tight enough to where it holds and it won't move. These things aren't gonna be flopping around a ton. So as long as they're relatively snug, you shouldn't really have much of an issue. So those are how those go on. We got these wires coming out of here now. So the next step is figuring out where to actually put these in the car and then getting that done. My dad is currently with the test pipe. He's getting that bung welded on it while I was messing with this. So now I'm going to start messing with routing and cable wiring and see where we can start putting things. All right, so here we go. Test pipe is back and the bung is welded on it. So this is going to be on the driver's side test pipe, and it won't get the air coming from the other side over on the passenger side here. But the problem is that the bung would be so far away to try and do that. That would be more towards the X, that we basically have to pick one side or the other. So I just picked the more convenient side. You can see we moved the bung a little bit lower, and that ended up being pretty good. So now I'm gonna fit this back in the car, make sure the clearances work, and then we'll start trying to work on the wiring. All right, here we are underneath the car. So I got my pipe with me, got all my extensions, gaskets, bolts, all that. So now it's just a matter of putting this pipe back up there. I used all 17mm bolts when I was putting this exhaust together the first time, so everything should fit right up. I'm just gonna go ahead and start putting it on. All right, there we go, dudes. This is all hooked up here, all hooked up there. You can see our new sensor right there. So what's unfortunate, yep, we only get it on this side. That side doesn't have one, but that's all right, because the only other way we'd be able to do that is at, actually, I don't even think, yeah, maybe at this X pipe, but that's so far back that it just wouldn't really work from there. So we've done a lot of digging around to try and find a good spot to run this through. We checked out the brake booster side. Down in there, there's a hole, but that's super deep and it's gonna be really hard to route the cable. The other good area is over here by the ECU. So either through here or through that vent. But that's gonna make the cable too long, especially because the air to fuel ratio sensor sits over there. So what we decided to do is come in here and come up through where the shifter comes out. So this cable here is our cable for the AFR sensor. So that is connected down right now to the sensor itself. When we pulled this up and through, we're zip tying things off to keep it out of the way of the drive shaft. If we look down under this boot, all right. So if we look under here, we can actually see down into where the drive shaft is. So this is just a straight up hole in the car. This is the plug for the AFR where it connects together. So we're actually gonna just keep this under here, and that will be a really good way to route that. We're gonna figure out a way to take this panel off. It looks like it's just some screws over here, so I'm gonna be figuring that out right now. And then we're gonna route it out. There's like this little crack right there that you see. So we might like put a hole in that or something, and then we're gonna run it along up under there. So we're gonna come out through, or even try and figure out a way to get it just back there. Maybe we could run the cable all the way through, then out under here, over to here, and then up, and then that should come out around here. So that one's looking pretty good. We're still trying to figure out where to route the power cables. I'm thinking down in here would be a good spot for that. But we'll have to figure that out. We might even splice into like the dash light cable. So put the power cable so when the dash light comes on, when you hit the on button, that the gauges power on when the car starts to power on before you start it. So in its ignition, which will be pretty good. So we're just currently figuring that out, and I'll keep you guys updated on what we decide to do with the wiring. I haven't seen much stuff for the 370Z for how to actually route these cables. I've seen a lot of people putting them on. So I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light on how I'm doing it specifically.
You can just run this down here.
Yeah, there's one screw you need to take off right there, and then this little side panel pops off. So we're just running this cable up, and then there's a hole right there. We're feeding it through, and then it comes out on that side. So it's all gonna be hidden behind this paneling, which is perfect, and we don't need to make any holes or anything like that. Yeah, we just need to get this through, and then there's also that fuse box under there, so we could probably put the powers over there. And then yeah, this cable is almost said and done. Once we just figure out how to get it up through there, we'll probably have to pull this like vent off over here, and then that'll give us access up into here. So we're gonna need to figure out how to pull that vent, and then we can feed that wire up to the pillar. We didn't even need to take that vent off. All we really did was we just got another piece of cable. You can see him messing with it over here, that red cable.
Yeah, I just fished it through.
Yeah, show him what you did.
Okay. Oh, Jesus, this tape's sticky as hell. Oh, damn.
It's good tape.
Frog tape. So I just fished a wire down through here, and I pushed it all the way through so it came out the bottom, and I taped our wire to it and pulled it back all the way through.
Yep, and that worked perfectly. So we're probably gonna do that with all the cables once we get them through. Didn't even need to pull that vent off or anything. Really straightforward. So we already got this cable fully routed. Now all we need to do is get the power down there. We could probably just do the same thing, fish that cable down and just pull all the wires up, and then I'll just put the gauges in after we get them through.
This wire is not fishing through like I'd like it to. So I'm trying to get some stuff out of the way that might help come through the slot I'm trying to.
Yeah, is it because we already got a few wires through there?
Yeah, plus, well, the plastic end for the plug is wide.
Yeah. You're talking about, do we want to disconnect the other end of it, or are you taking the small end already?
Doing the small end already.
I see. And is it just hung up right there?
I think so.
All right, so the gauges are on the pod is in. All the cables are running down here. So they're all sitting below here, running up through here. And now it's just a matter of trying to get them taut and out of the way under here so that this will actually seal back up against this. So it's gonna be kind of a mission. There's a lot of wires going on, and it's gonna take a lot of just wiggling around. So I'm just gonna get working on this and just take my time, take a little while on it, move the wires around until I eventually get this thing to seat and snap on. Once it's on, we're good to go. Those should be good there, and then it's just a matter of running these cables under here and figuring out where to get them. I believe we want to run one over here. We already got this one running through here. So the AFR is connected. We need to wire both powers. We might use that fuse box down there to do that, or figure out some other way if there's something easier or better to do. So I'll be working on that, and I'll let you guys know what's next. All right, so we ran this wire through. Highly recommend getting a piece of wire to just use as a dummy. There's a hole down there. So he's over on that side, pushing it through. I'm over here. Now he's gonna tape the oil pressure sensor connector to this side.
Okay, see if you can pull it. Hold on.
Okay.
See if you can pull it through.
Okay, now I'm gonna pull on this. Yeah.
Way through. That's it.
Yeah, I got it. Right there, boys. There we go.
All right, now you need to come over on this side, set these wires up.
This is looking really awesome. Gauges are on. That was kind of a pain to squeeze those in there. We'll see if this upper part holds in the long run when the car's bouncing around and stuff, because it is housing a lot of wires, and it did take a little bit of pressing that on there to get it to stay. If we look over here, that right there is the cable for the air to fuel ratio sensor. So I just have it routed under the boot. It seems pretty well protected under there. And it looks super clean and out of the way. Got everything reconnected over here. So I'm just gonna start putting the console back together and everything. Get that done. It runs out through over here. We got this cable I gotta deal with. So it's just about cleaning up all the wires down here now, and then we'll move on. So I'm under the car now, and this is how we have the cable routed. So you can see there, that's the button that's welded. It's up on top of the pipe, like that. They recommend anywhere between 10 and 2 around the pipe. So I put it right up top. Comes up over here. I have it tied off right over there. So this stays completely away from everything that's hot. Comes out through here. Have it tied loosely up there. And then it enters right in there. So that's with the boot for the shifter. See there? So it's really, really out of the way. I even tucked it on the other side of this sensor. So I pulled the sensor off, stuck the wire on the other side, and put the sensor back on. So now even that sensor will kind of keep the wire just out of the way. I didn't pull it super taut, so there is a little slack for it to move around if it needs to, especially with that one up there. That zip tie is just to hold it there. I don't have it extremely tight. I just have it enough to hold it there. And then this piece here, That's not gonna hit anything at all, so I'm not too concerned about that. So this is all done here, and now it's just down to power, and we'll be good to go for the air to fuel ratio.
So what we decided to do is get a piggyback fuse that goes right into the fuse box underneath the dash. And we're gonna put both wires from the oil pressure and the oxygen sensor, both hots are gonna go into here. And then we're gonna do the same with the grounds, and we should be done. Hopefully it goes just that smooth.
Just the two reds together there. Alright. Two hots are squashed together. And we're gonna get our two blacks. Normally I'd use a blue connector, but I didn't have any, so I'm gonna use a big fat yellow connector. And just take back the ones we're not using. That 20 ampere. So go ahead and turn the key on. Can you push the button?
Yep.
That's it. That's what I want.
All right, so it's wired down here now. We got that grounded over on that side, and then piggybacked on that fuse. You see that black one right there. So that wire coming out connects to both of the power cables for those, and then both of those grounds crimp together there, and then connect onto that ground over there. So that's all up. So when I push the start button, it should, oh, there we go. Hey, there we go. All right, so both come on. So one says sense because we haven't plugged it into the oil pressure sensor yet. And the air to fuel ratio wideband sensor is heating itself. It has a heating mechanism that heats it up before you start the car. And once it gets green like that, you are good to go. So there we go. It's gonna be reading. The car's not off, so it shouldn't be reading anything really. 23.8, yeah. But yeah, it's all good to go. That looks awesome. Holy shit. That's gonna be a lot of fun. So now it's just dealing with this mess. So I'm gonna get all these wires tucked away, get all the panels back on, and make sure it's all nice and tidy. But yeah, that's basically how we routed those wires here down to there. Use this fuse box to your advantage since it's so close. Really easy to access, really good. This will be going on later once we get that extension again. And that should be good to go. So I'll come back once we get that extension on. All right, so we're basically all done here. You can see where the wire comes through and then up over here. So we just kind of ran it along here. I zip tied it in place. Still got to trim those ties. Up over here. Comes through the boot and the ECU, really well hidden. If I pull this back up, you can see it comes through right there. And then I just kind of fed it under this piece right here, this black part. This piece of trimming. It was really easy to get it under. You just kind of pull this up a bit and you sneak it under there. It comes down here. This is it here. And then heads down to this to the sensor. Then when you get under here, it just plugs right in. So it's nice and tucked out of the way. And it should stay there fine. I'm gonna add a couple more zip ties just to keep this wire where it should be. And then that's good to go. So let's give it a start and see what it does now that everything's plugged in and everything's ready to go. All right, let's go on a test drive and see how this thing does under load. Wiggle it out of the garage here. All right, these things look absolutely beautiful and they're reading exactly where they should be. We're just gonna go ahead and do a little pull here and see where the air to fuel ratio likes to sit. right where it should be at those higher RPMs. Once it starts climbing a bit, gets out of that economy range and starts getting into that performance range. So it's working beautifully. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. I wanted to put a video out there that people could watch and see how to route gauges to the A-pillar, and I think this covers it pretty well. Let me know what you thought of it. If this helped you out, give me some feedback. Leave a like if you enjoyed, if it helped you, or if you want to see more videos that are like this, because I can make more in the future when I'm installing other kinds of parts. We're going to test the car out at Laguna Seca. I have that footage coming up pretty soon. It was really fun. Always enjoy Laguna Seca. This is the first video I'll be making with the Z there, and you'll see what that's like. It was a pretty good day, besides being 90 decibels. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed. It's been Sean Milburn with Milburn Motorsports, and I'll see you in the next video.